Hello there, and thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Gold Pill podcast. I am Meredith, and I am here with my beautiful, amazing, talented, creative, wonderful host, Amy. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hello, Mayor. I'm really great this morning. Thank you for asking. I'm really so excited today because we haven't had like guests in a minute,
Yeah,
and we haven't really had a reason to have a guest in a minute, and we have a real
no
like
reason today.
yeah, we have published author of Manic Pixie E-Girl, available now on Amazon, Nate Lemcke. Um, I came across Nate's work when I was just happening on the internet one day. I am a meme lover, if you didn't know that about me. And I really love any sort of meme that understands the power of itself and really projects lots of information in but just like a tiny little frame. And Nate is really kind of like a master at doing that. And I'm also just like a total simp for psychology and Jungian stuff. So maybe that was it as well. But Nate, welcome to the show. I think I've said enough. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Nate.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm very excited to be here. And I guess before we started recording, we'd kind of been talking a little bit about the payment system
Oh,
failure kind of that went down yesterday,
that you're
Yes.
responsible
and
for.
that I may have been responsible for. And well, it was interesting because one of the top comments was about the CBDC, which, for those of you who don't know, is like the central bank digital currency.
Mhm.
Somebody, well, I guess just to say what happened, I guess like yesterday, the Square payment processing app went down along with Venmo and Zelle and Cash App, like in kind of like, I don't know, like a worldwide blackout. Is that what it was?
It was a pretty widespread uh outage or a bunch of different systems going down, which is very it does not make my stomach hurt one bit. Little anxiety inducing.
Okay, Mayor. Nate was responsible. So now we know.
Oh
And
my God. Okay, we can
totally solved.
someone to
Yeah.
blame.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting because my book actually it has to do with the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, and the
Oh
kind of
wow.
currency reset that I believe that I kind of like know is going to happen in the future. It's just a more matter of when, not if.
For sure.
And um so I kind of wrote this book in part, like it's got a lot of other stuff going on, but like in part to maybe prepare people for that. Cause I was kind of thinking like, if a major piece of like pop literature had come out before 9/11, kind of detailing the plot of 9/11, may have taken some of the sting out of it, may have like, I don't know, made people more hesitant to jump into these sign on for like the mass surveillance and
Totally.
I don't know, the wars overseas. So,
Yeah.
and also on the other side, as a Leo, I'm very vain, and I was hoping that
Oh,
maybe the CIA would kind of like hop on and artificially boost my book as a sort of like predictive programming to prepare people for the coming currency reset. And I was like, I'll
wow.
take whatever publicity I can get.
Um,
You're a Leo.
when
I love that. I'm also a Leo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a July Leo, July
Oh
31st.
my God, your birthday is the day after mine.
No
We
way.
are awesome. Yes. Um, Yeah, no. So, Amy, what were you going to say? And then I do have something else
Well,
to.
I was just going to go ahead and tout the book a little more and say it's so great how he talks about, he uses these really huge concepts like with physics, psychology, conspiracy, what have you, and he is able to also really ground it in a very 3D kind of like salacious sort of parallel storytelling. I don't know. I'm probably being way too analytical, but I just can't. If you like this show, like this is your book. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh,
But we talk a lot, or we have in the past, about Project Looking Glass, which is something that Nate talks about a lot in the book. There's a lot of mention of Project Looking Glass and how to switch timelines and emotions and all that. And I found, besides your description, your brilliant description and depiction of the double slit experiment, I found your reference to the Project Looking Glass, perhaps the most interesting of all, because it really talks about, and this is really no spoilers because there's so much, but how it uses our emotions to switch timelines. And I thought that was the most brilliantly I've ever heard that expressed, because
Wow.
fear and fear was the big one. But if we can, Nate, do you want to go into that a little bit about emotions and timelines, or is that something we should leave more for the book? Or
No, will
can you
you go
speak
into it?
Yeah, let's jump into it. So I
I've got
remember
that.
back during quarantine when I was first on TikTok, I remember seeing a video about Project Looking Glass. I've never heard of them before, but at the time I was like, they would make a great bad guy in a book. Like I really hope that like somebody writes a book where they're the bad guy. And in this particular video, I forget what they were saying, but like there was one aspect of Project Looking Glass that I didn't actually include in my book, which is that they had this like actual looking glass device that let them see into different timelines, and that they had, I don't know, like a staff of like 3,000 manifestors that were like actively working towards manifesting like the desires of the state. Like basically that like the CIA had tapped into this whole manifesting your reality process early on and hijacked it to like use it towards their own goals. And yeah, so how I kind of incorporated that in the book is that like the first timeline jump occurs on 9/11, and basically in order to do that, and like in order to jump timelines as it were, is to like to manifest yourself into a new reality. um you have to have like enough people manifesting at like a high enough level to overpower the rest of the sort of like low-key day-to-day manifesting that people are subconsciously doing. And even that was sort of not enough, so they had to like plunge people into like a state of very low vibration in order to, the premise is kind of like everybody is manifesting things on some level all of the time, just kind of in your normal beta brain state, like the things you sort of daydream about, they're going to kind of come to you eventually. And that the more sort of focused, the more deep in meditation, the closer you are to a theta brain state, the more likely your manifestations are going to come true. Whereas the further you are away from that, which would be in a state of fear, confusion, anxiety, like the less likely your manifestations are to come true. So in order for Project Looking Glass to jump us to like the timeline that they wanted, they had to like first plunge the country and the world into a state of fear and confusion, which was accomplished through 9/11. And I know that's like a lot to unpack there, but that's kind of like the premise.
And when you say it's a lot to unpack, this is all explained just as succinctly. I don't mean to like just toot your horn, Nate, but it's like the amount of information you pack into this book for someone who's ready to receive it. It's like, I don't know, 100, almost 200 pages. I'm not exactly sure. It's so fast and you get so much out of it. It's like a accelerated download. It's like a meme in a book is how I described it to someone, where it's so packed with information. And it's interesting because as you sit here and we talk about it, Mare, notice it's not like this definitive, look what happened with Project Looking Glass. It's like kind of a fictional what if take. And I think it's a really healthy way to examine the ideas that we get in the conspiracy sort of oceans and waters, is more of a what if, how could this play out, like as a device to move something along, and how could this affect me in my actual life? Like, I think although it's interesting to consider Project Looking Glass and the manifestations, and I think the most interesting piece of that is learning that if you're very confused and fear-based, maybe your manifestations or the things that you're trying to bring into this world are going to be more interrupted or harder to do or take longer or not happen at all. And I just think there's so much, it's almost like a grimoire sort of. I don't know. It's really, really.
Oh my God, I'm really looking forward to reading this now. And also just wanting to say too that somebody brought up, I think it was Amy discussing the book, like you brought up the whole timelines and emotions thing. And I think about like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Neville Goddard, Nate, but he talks about like how certain states are like imperative to manifesting. And so it kind of makes me think also about like the Celestine prophecy. Have you read that? Either of you
I
guys?
have not.
Oh, it's
I
so
have. Go ahead.
you have or you haven't?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's really good. But it's kind of got a similar in that when you can like focus your energy and your intention on something that is like, positive or like of a high vibration, like you said, it kind of dissipates like even the attempt at control. Like if you guys read that book while I read Nate's book, it's really good. And I think that it just makes sense that you change your emotion and then your timeline changes. And I kind of wonder like if that's like literal, because we think about like, oh, different dimensions and oh, I woke up feeling very different today. But I kind of
Mhm.
feel like this shit is real. Like I've heard of people completely waking up in different dimensions altogether, and so
Yeah. Definitely something to consider, girl, for fucking sure.
it's just fascinating to me. So I'm really excited to see. Yeah, I'm really excited to get this book on Amazon. We will link it below in the description where you can buy it. And I also what was I gonna say? It was something. Oh, I wanted to go back to the piece about CBDCs. Um, and just kind of like the whole currency reset idea, because I think like I definitely think that's gonna happen and have been kind of seeing that coming since like really 2020. I was like, oh, that seems like a thing, that's gonna happen. But like, when did that make itself known to you, Nate? And like, how did you feel about it before you sort of like transmuted it into a book?
So I heard about the CBDC a long time ago, probably in like 2015, 2016, on a YouTube video this was when I was going like deep into YouTube before they like really kind of like locked down their content and algorithm.
Yeah.
When it was still like the Wild West. And there was this guy, the Corbett Report. Have you guys ever watched James
Yes.
Corbett?
Oh yeah.
He's like one of my favorite journalists, and I heard it from him, and the way he described it, it just made total sense and kind of seemed obvious that it would happen. But yeah, like from my point of view, or like you kind of got to think about it from like the world controller's point of view. Like they've got a couple problems right now. One, like the main one is the failing dollar. And every currency kind of has a life cycle. None of them last forever. And it basically coincides with the life cycle of the empire that the currency is based on.
Mm-hmm.
So like the dollar's reaching the end of its life. There's no clear successor. Like there's no clear like next global empire to take over yet. So that's a big problem. There's the rise of cryptocurrency, which the central banks can't control. And as much as maybe they like may sing its praises right now, like at the end of the day, like it is anathema to their goals because it's like mostly anonymous, like uncontrolled. There's a set amount, which is
Yeah.
like Bitcoin is kind of like what you would assume a currency would be, which would just be like this pool of money that we use to exchange things. But like it's kind of like the opposite of the money we have now, which is it's a whole rabbit hole, but like it's created through debt, like every dollar in existence is owed back to the Fed with interest, which produces this like artificial scarcity that keeps everybody scrambling to like to get that interest from the next person before the music stops. And it's kind of like a game of musical chairs. You don't want to be left standing when the market crashes. Exactly. But okay, sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, it's good. It's really informative, I think, for maybe, just, yeah, for me.
Yeah. So
Ramble on, please, please, please.
and the final problem is that, they want to bring currency into the digital age. Right now it's really kind of like stuck in the 90s. It's unwieldy. It's not efficient. Like if you want to send money overseas or just from bank to bank, there's like everybody's got a different database. So like the natural next step is to have this sort of worldwide digital currency that's programmable, traceable, like they will sing its praises, of course, and I'm sure there are some good aspects, but the hard part is going to be like getting people to accept it. And the only way they're going to do that is like they're going to need another sort of essentially like a 9/11. Like not many people would have signed on to like the war on terror, the war in Iraq if 9/11 had not
Absolutely.
happened. So they need like a 9/11 for the currency, which will basically be like in the form of some sort of either like cyber attack or some sort of just failure of the dollar, of cryptocurrency, and like it needs to produce enough of those negative emotions like anxiety, fear, confusion, so that when they present the one solution, which will be the new currency, they'll be like, we can go back to normal with this new currency. Everybody just has to sign on and get their digital ID, like make sure you're up to date on all of your juices if you want to access this new currency.
So you can go get in line for your toilet paper immediately. Your burger and fries and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's also like, where I get at with it is like, man, okay, so you say we have to be up to date with our juices, right? Well, what else does that entail? Like there's certain things that are in trial right now, like Neuralink and like, like there's people who already are like chipped, and I'm just like looking at all of it and I'm like, yeah, man, I really, you know what I mean? Like I really just want to relax. Like I really just want to like eat grapes and drink coffee and like, you know what I mean? I love like just sitting here and talking shit about, but when that type of thing comes around, like, it's like, okay, now it's on, now it's really popping because for me, like, I don't think I would like be able to take something into my body like that. Like I wasn't able to the first go round, and like just feel very much like, ugh, and it's like, and also there's part of me that's like, kind of occupying mentally the space of like a mean girl. And I think Amy helped me with this, but like, where I'm just like, okay, control freak dweebs, like, right?
Yeah.
And just like, okay, sure, Jan.
Really try hard. And it's like the idea of trying to control nature is like laughable. And it was pretty cool for like a few hundred years. Like they had a good run, but apparently, like according to all prophecy, like everywhere that is done. So
Yeah, and it doesn't last very long too. Like if you actually do look at prophecy of all kinds, it's like there's like a nice like, you know, however many year window where like whatever this system is would be active, but then it wouldn't last. So I mean, so it's just to me, I'm just like, oh yeah, let me just go ahead and sign my soul on the dotted line right here, and just go ahead and get my groceries for the week. It's like
on this fake paper with my fake name, you know what I mean? If you want to get like real about it, like you know what I'm
what?
saying? Want to get like really like free man about it, but it's like your straw man name citing some fake paper. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like at the end
it's
of the
like
day, you can break it down into like it's so ridiculous. Like, what do you actually know? You know what I mean? As far as your soul is concerned and like signing over all this stuff and them having control. It's just like it's such a grand illusion. Like it's the grandest illusion of all because
it's
like
like
everyone dies.
that's so true. If your straw man was like tattooed onto your DNA, that's what, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Ooh,
I
yes,
mean, that's
yes.
gross and it feels weird inside, but I think that's like a fair statement. And so it's cool, I think, that you're able to kind of like it's almost like you're warning people and also, yeah, trying to soften the blow. And I feel that like I kind of wonder too, save for some type of experience like a 9/11 or like a cyber attack, like how they might begin to like roll this out where like maybe they have like a trial offer of like, okay, like the first whatever people can get this and this, and we'll give you $2,000 every month, and like we'll do it all for you, and then you can just come, you know, and barcode it. I don't know. I mean, it's like,
I
yeah.
want to time it real fast because this is all predicated on this idea that we're going to have just like gazillions of people. And I just like, not to like be Debbie Downer, but also welcome to the gold pill.
Oof.
Cancer rates in people under 40 or at 45, I think is what I posted today. And it got nicked because there was some sort of allusion to the juice, but really
Oh,
don't
I
even
saw
pay
that.
attention to the juice aspect. Pay attention to cancer is skyrocketing in young people, and there's like something up. There's something up with the environment or whatever. Like you can fill in that blank, but the
Wow.
there's just, and my friend recently who's I think 45 just recently got diagnosed with, she'll be okay, in theory, but like just saying it's happening, it's real. There is a real uptick in people's health going awry, and there is also a real uptick in the healthcare systems kind of like failing, and the insurance companies are not, the AI is kind of already in charge of who gets what, and things kind of already get denied before they even get asked at this point for a lot of people
Yeah.
who are paying the rear end for insurance. That's a whole different conversation for a different day. People should have healthcare. It's just the insurance system is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And so I'm just, the gold pill, I guess our main tenet is that people just need to take like their lives into their own hands as much as they can, and sort of like your
Yeah.
book says, be aware of what's coming to sort of soften the blow or possibly like alter your own destiny, whatever, the case may be. But yeah, there's just a lot going on, and I don't necessarily think, first of all, that technology, that Neuralink is going to like be for everyone. I think that's going to be for quote unquote like the lucky rich people, like the people who are happy to receive that. And I don't, all I know, also, I'll just end it like this, that Douglas Rushkoff talks about the Dark Ages being one of the most misrepresented times, like ever, the medieval times, where it gets talked about as this like terrible period. But he said it was really a really rich period for like artists and artisans, and for small, like side businesses, basically smaller groups. Now, they didn't have the internet and the corporations the way that we do now, but I have noticed a real emergence, at least in California, of just like small businesses popping up on the side of the road that would normally, I think, like years ago, not even be an afterthought for someone because it would be so regulated. But I'm noticing lots of things that would normally be regulated that are not regulated happening, and it's not all bad. It's kind of like pro people, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, no, I think a long time ago, I like had to make the choice to like not get so sucked into all the doom and gloom, and that, just focusing on conspiracy theories all the time was like kind of giving them actually more power than it was like taking it away. And so I mean the book's kind of about that too. Like the current series set is not even the heart of it. Really, the book is about like my dark night of the soul that I kind of went through. Maybe it's a Saturn return. I was like 30 years old, so it feels a little bit late. Is it possible to have a Saturn return when you're 30?
Yeah, like I think that it depends on you. It depends on your chart. And yeah, that's possible. And also that's like around the time too when you're really integrating a lot of like what you might have gone through during your exact Saturn return, you know?
Yes,
It's
yes.
also like a classic age that people who have, I think everyone's been under mind control if you listen to this show, but people who have been like, who realize that they've been under like there's kind of like a spell of commerce and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think that we awaken from that and we kind of put the pieces of our lives together. It could just be all those things happen at the same time and it's the same thing. But that's a real 30 is a year that a lot of people kind of like come to and realize like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I was sort of like sleepwalking through my last however many years,
Oh, 100%. And I remember it was the winter of 2020 going into 2021, and I was about to go back to school. I never finished my degree. So I convinced myself that I was going to go back to school and get a real job. I was working in restaurants. And but before the semester started in the spring, I was all set up to go. I had my classes and everything, but I was like, I'm going to go out into the desert and fast. It was in Moab, Utah, and nobody's out there in the winter. It's great to go in the winter. I drove out like as far as I could on this dirt road, and I fasted for 2 days. That was the longest I'd ever fasted. And
Wow.
I remember like getting this message, like my life's purpose was, I still have it written down in my wallet. It was to make the world a better place through my writing. Like I wanted to be a writer. And like I left that fast out in the desert, like galvanized, like fully set on like embarking on this new journey to become a writer. Like I decided not to go back to school. And then immediately afterwards, I just fell into like the deepest, most debauched party phase of my life. Like writing could not have been further
Wow.
from the truth, even though it was in the back of my mind the whole time. I was like just doing drugs and getting
You were
blackout
really being
drunk.
a writer.
What's that?
You were really being a writer. That's what writers really do.
Gosh, that's funny.
Well, yeah, at the time, it like I just felt so guilty because I was like not doing what I was supposed to be, what I thought I was meant to be doing. But then later on, when it finally came time to write, like those were the experiences that I then wrote about and drew from, and like that that time needed to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you, can I ask a couple questions about your characters? Like, well, I don't want to give anything away and I want people to buy the book and stuff. And so I just want to hear a little bit about the 33-year-old and the 22-year-old. Um, if you want
Yeah.
if you want to share. Yeah, I'm interested to know.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, a few like I'm kind of like a little bit autistic with the numbers. So I
Love that.
wanted
Yeah.
I wanted the book to take place in 2024, the year of the election, because
Hmm.
things usually happen like the summer before an election. And so at the same time, I wanted the main character to be 11 on 9/11, 11 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
that would make him 33 in 2024, so long as his birthday is before September 11th, which it is. And so I really thought all this stuff out. For
Mm.
reasons that you like find out in the book, she needs to be like 11 years younger than him.
Mhm.
Um, and it sort of just reflected the relationship I had. I was only 30 at the time, but I had this like younger friend and who just sort of she was like the only source of like non-judgment I had at that time in my life. Like I felt like the relationship I just gotten out of, like there's a ton of judgments. Like I felt like judged on all
Mm.
sides, even from myself. And here was this person who was like just so cool with anything and like didn't care what I did. So sort of
Mm.
about the lesson I learned from her. But in the book, yeah, you've got this guy, this 33-year-old restaurant worker who is sort of paralyzed at like paralyzed in his life because of all these shoulds, these expectations that he needs to live up to. And he gets to the point where he really can't do anything anymore. Like he'd been trying so long to like live the sort of right life and reaches a point where it's just not working anymore. And then this girl comes into his life in classic manic pixie dream girl fashion, which is kind of like this trope. Like, I don't know if you're aware of it. It's kind of like not the best trope. Usually a manic pixie dream girl is like a character who is only there to facilitate the main male character's emotional development, which I mean, she kind of is in the book, but whatever.
I feel
It's
like I
kind of like
relate to her a lot, to that character, that energy.
Girl, I'm telling you, you've got to read this book. You have to read this book because it's like I don't need Nate. You
I just
speak
ordered it.
full
I'm
of
gonna
a
read it.
lady, yes,
It's coming
and
to
of
my
a
house.
gentleman. Sorry, we don't normally talk over each other like this. You've got us all aflutter, but it's so major. Go order it right now, everyone. Go ahead, Nate. Continue.
I actually did just order it. I just want to share that. And it's on the way to my house, and I'll get the paperback copy. Because yeah, I'm super intrigued. I'm super intrigued.
well, it is a quick read. A lot of people just like blew through it in a single day, and
Mm.
it's actually 222 pages, Amy. It's not
Oh.
Oh,
a
of
hundred
course.
something.
Thank you. You know, I really appreciate that you corrected me on that. So, like, hats off.
Well,
Incredible.
it took and so long to get it to 200. Like, it sounds easy, but like, I remember I was using Fight Club as an example. I was like, Fight Club is only 49,000 words long. It's like, to me,
Mm.
like writing that much seemed like impossible. So I was like, Fight Club is a very successful book. Um, it's very short, and the copy I had was like 216 pages. So I was like, I can make mine 222. Like, it's definitely in the realm of possibility. But it took so much formatting on like the final day when it came to the formatting to make it end up that way. But I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too. It's such a, you can tell it's a real testament to like a magician's sort of, or a chef's kiss, or however you, it's just, it's laden with lots of personal detail, but it's also, that I'm assuming is personal detail, but it's also universal, which is sort of what I think is the secret sauce right there, which is like your vulnerability combined with the fact that everyone goes through these things, or everyone who's honest with themselves has gone through some iteration of a Dark Knight or a Saturn, you know, return, however you want to conceive of it. And it really, it's, I say it's ahead of its time because it's, I've been in this like kind of realm for the last like 14 years, I guess, at this point. And like you said, you can really get in the rabbit hole of it all. But it really succinctly just kind of grasped like exactly, it's like a conspiracy 101 combined with a psychology 101. And it really does echo this idea that I have, that whenever my life is going sort of off the rails, that's when I'm more attracted to conspiracy stuff. So it really using the Dark Night of the Soul and the hero's journey to sort of couple that with this conspiracy knowledge, and it's just like, it's so perfect. And I think so many people over time, as they land in this, what I would call like the beach of starting over, as they all like kind of arrive here, it's going to make sense to more people. But I think before that happens, people have to go through this experience sort of, and it's a really tough, honest, vulnerable experience, even if you just do it by yourself and tell no one. And I invite everyone to do that, but also that's, I just think that you're going to see more and more copies of your book fly off the shelves as more and more people self-actualize. They're forced into self-actualization either through confronting the digital currency or whatever is coming. You know what I mean? All these things that are coming are going to force us to confront ourselves. And the more we can really be comfortable in our own bodies, you know, with our own psychology, however, the better I think we are, you know, as people and as friends, relationships, community members, what have you.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that brings up, there is this whole other part of the book that we barely even talked about. And Mare, I think you would enjoy it. It's every third chapter is a chapter about a tarot card. There's like a
Oh,
parallel
I love
story
that.
that follows the fool's journey through the major arcana of the tarot. So, you know, it's like the
Beautiful.
first chapter of that story is the fool and the magician, the high priestess, and basically the fool, he kind of is on this quest to save the high priestess who's been kidnapped, and
Mhm.
and what was I going
It's
to say? Oh,
incredible.
it's, there's like some little Easter eggs in there. You know, like I think like the founder of the Hermetic tradition, his name was Hermes Trismegistus or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so like the hermit character in my book, his name is Hermes Trismegistus. And so there's like kind of like little Easter eggs that the more esoteric folks will get.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm excited to check into that. I love tarot, as
It's for
I'm
all
sure
the
we all do.
autodidacts online, right? That gave themselves this experience. I really do believe it's like this portal that people are going through, exactly what he wrote about and exactly what happened to so many people in 2020 and what's happened to many people before. And I just think that it really, like, it's not even, I won't even say it's been joked to be the Gen Z Bible, because that's been said in complete earnestness, but there is kind of like an, I like to play with the idea that it is the Bible for the new age, simply because the Bible gets you up to a certain point of like, oh, be moral, this is going to lead to a simple life, but this is like takes it to the next step. And I think that it's so universally understood by the people who have endured this experience. And it's maybe I'm just not very well read, but I've never the way that it is so modern, and the way it just speaks so much to this generation of people who are coming. And I can't wait to see what happens to the trajectory of this novel and truly your career, because I have a feeling, my feelings are usually pretty accurate, but in like the years to come, like this, you will not be a waiter anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, I feel it in my bones. It's so big.
Oh, I know it too. I know it too. And
Yay.
what was I going to say? Well, actually, the guy who called it the Gen Z Bible he's a musician. He's a rapper. His name is Toybox. Shout out to Toybox. He gave me some hope when I was sort of doubting myself and like sort of going into the pits of depression, and he tattooed the cover of my book on his arm, and he like
Wow.
didn't even really tell me about it. I just saw it in his story, and I was like, oh my God, like this guy believes in my book more than I do. Like he gave me like and he actually has the same birthday as me as well, July 31st, which I thought was pretty wild.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, it's big.
So I got that tattoo too. We got matching tattoos. He gave me the boost of hope that I needed at that time, and yeah, I think it is like it um it explores Gen Z sort of like apathy, millennial malaise,
Mm,
all these things.
that's a mood.
But actually, have you guys ever read Existential Kink by I think her name's Carolyn Elliott?
My best friend in my hometown actually has been talking about that book with me for a year and a half. He loves it. Yeah. So I haven't read it, but I've like read it through him, if that makes sense.
Oh man, that book did more for me than maybe
Wow.
anything else. And a lot of the philosophy in that book is the philosophy in Manic Pixie E-Girl.
Yeah.
And it's
Cool.
basically this idea that so I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks, and I really believe that this kind of thing is true, that the things you think about end up coming to you, that we live in an attraction-based universe, that the universe doesn't
Mm,
know the difference between hate and love. It's really just the magnitude of the emotion is what draws things to you. So
Mhm.
if you're really so like all riled up about I don't know, some sort of political statement or view, like you're going to end up seeing that a lot online just because you get such a emotional high from it. Like your body gets a
oh
high from it,
yeah.
whether it's negative or positive. And so existential kink kind of takes the um, Abraham Hicks sort of manifestation technique a bit further, where if you're having trouble sort of like bringing things into your life, it's likely because you've got a very strong shadow, like an unconscious shadow that is also manifesting all the time, usually the things that are opposite to what your ego wants. Um, so it kind of like
Oh yeah.
invites you to like in the negative things in my life, like negative patterns that I've been going through, like really be honest and be like, am I actually getting something out of this? And like when I realize that I am, it's like it's crazy. It's like, dang, like I actually enjoy feeling like a martyr, like feeling like shitty like this, feeling constricted and poor. Like I get a high out of this, and like I can't lie to myself anymore. And when I finally like allow myself to um experience that high for what it is, not have it like shameful and be like, no, like it's bad, like no good person would want to feel like this, like you're crazy. Like once I get rid of that voice and just allow myself to feel these crazy feelings for what they are, and allow my shadow to get what it wants, it sort of like clears up so much energy, which allowed me to write the book in the like,
Mhm.
yeah, ultimately.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to tell him that you brought that up, and yeah, might look into
Talking
it.
about Asher?
Huh?
We're talking about Asher?
Yeah, I mean, he's been like,
Hi,
uh,
Asher. Yeah.
hi, Asher. Yeah, he's really been recommending this material for a long time, and I've just been like, oh yeah, sure, and like just haven't really looked into it, and then it gets like, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Universe is bringing it to you, Meredith.
Yeah, I'm like, geez. So I have a question. Um,
Yeah.
so so you like Abraham Hicks. What else is your like, how do you get into the space of like the vortex or whatever, like what she would, or I don't know, whatever it is, the group or the person, I don't know, but like, um,
Artist.
yeah, how would you recommend, like, or how do you personally get into the spirit of that, like the vortex or the, like, the state?
Okay, two ways. Two ways.
Mm-hmm.
One, I live really close to this beautiful trail. I can walk to it from my house, and it's like it was such a godsend. Like I kind of ended up in Nevada City, Northern California for just like a myriad, like some weird reasons, and it wasn't like necessarily my choice to come here, even though like I agreed to it and everything. And but this trail sort of came out of nowhere, and it's been so nice. I go there almost every day, and like there's nobody on it, which in Colorado, where I was living before, is kind of unheard of. Like all the trails are packed all the time. But I can just go out into nature, have this solitude, and like just the way the light hits the trees, like I can feel this like surge of like you're in the vortex when you can feel like the electricity coursing through your body. And
Mm.
the more in touch with you are with your body, like the easier it is to tell when you're there. And just like
Okay.
it filled with like this gratitude, and just like it doesn't matter what else happens. Like um I could be poor, I could be rich, I could be, I don't know, I might be jailed sometime later in my life, but like right now I've got this like sun shining through, hitting these redwoods, and
Mm.
like that, I feel like that's, I don't know, like God or the universe seeing through my eyes, like that's why I'm here. And then the other way, very different, is just like being alone in my apartment, rocking out on my headphones, like early 2000, like the music I liked when I was a teenager, like
Mm.
Linkin Park,
Yes.
like Papa Roach. Like I've been like found myself like going backwards, like
Another
re
NorCal gem, Papa Roach.
but like re-accessing these emotions of when I was like a young teenager, and like I can get to this like point of like ecstasy, like this ecstatic point, and that's when I'll be like rocking out to like uh Last Resort, like cut my life into pieces, and then I'll just like get
Throwback.
down on my
Wow.
knees and be like, oh my God, like I feel like the universe coursing through my body, like right now is like the time to manifest something.
I love that. I do a lot of dancing in front of my altar, and yeah, like moving to music and like just doing certain things like that.
That's so funny. I do too, and I had no idea until I just thought about it.
Oh my gosh. It just,
It's a
the spirit
prayer. It's
moves
like an
yeah.
act of prayer.
Yes, it
Yeah.
absolutely is.
And yeah, no, that's cool. So thank you for sharing that, because I think everybody has like different ways that they get into that type of state. And yeah, cool.
It sounds like there's a large component of like getting in touch with like your like healed sort of like inner, not like inner child, but like if it brings you back to that like time of being a teenager, and then also God, and it makes me wonder what the similarity is there, how
Well,
come
I've
we can
been
access the
uh,
vortex through those two different ways. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that is an interesting point. Yeah, teens are filled with those emotions and hormones, and maybe are a little bit closer to God. But I've kind of just been trying to strip away like the exterior, what it looks like to be spiritual sort of thing, like, and just really get in touch with like what feels right to me. And
Hmm.
um I don't know, as part of this, I'm like a deep believer that like our triggers are our teachers and that the obstacle is the way. And when I first
Yeah.
discovered this, it was like, it was kind of crazy to me. Like I overheard, I remember it distinctly. I was working in this restaurant, it was breakfast time, and I overheard this man being like really picky about his order to one of my coworkers. He was like saying, like, I want my eggs exactly like this. Like, if they don't come out like this, I'm gonna send it back. In my head, my like programming was like, I was judging this guy so hard. I was like, this guy's like a little man child. He's a baby. He's like wasting everybody's time. Like, why don't you just pick something off the menu and order it? But
Right.
I was like trying to incorporate this lesson of our triggers are our teachers. And I was like, okay, let me look at this another way. Like, why am I having such a strong emotional response to this man? Like maybe objectively, if there is such a thing, he is being kind of annoying. But for a separate reason, I'm having such a strong emotional response. Like, so I looked into myself and I was like, I do find it very hard to like ask for modifications when I'm at a restaurant. Like I'll always just pick something off the menu, however it comes. I'll take it because like I have this, and taking it further, I'm like, I have this deep fear of taking up space. You know, I want to be as small as possible. And like that
Yeah.
comes from childhood, like making room for my parents' emotions, never wanting to be a burden. And like just this little incident of like this man ordering his eggs exactly how he wanted them, like is like a portal into like pain and healing. Whereas most people, including myself before I'm like started this journey, will just take it as like that's who I am. Like I'm a person who will order something off the menu and not ask for modifications because, you know, like, I don't know, I'm a man or something, and not take it any further than that. When like our triggers are really deeply our teachers. And oh God, I'm just rambling. But so I'm going to take
No,
it. I'm going to bring it back to the gold pill, which I think this is a very incorrect interpretation of the gold pill. But the first time I heard that phrase, to me, what it meant was this other realization I had gone through along the same path, because I'd been triggered by capitalism for so long. Like my whole identity was wrapped up in being anti-capitalist, anti-corporation, anti-1%.
Mm.
And so I had this transcendent moment, like when I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona, just like meditating in this little park by my house. It's like the only nature I could access, but I was so grateful for it. And I opened my eyes, looked around me, and I was like, what if I don't live in this like late capitalist hellscape? Like, what if this was like actually like a dreamland? Like, here's all these like vehicles being propelled by this magical substance that comes out of the earth, and
Mm.
it's producing these gases that actually trees breathe in. Like there's a place where I can get food, like any food I want, like just across the intersection. Like I was challenging myself to look at it through a new lens, and like I don't know, like kind of come to a new appreciation for where I live and not be defined like against it.
I love that. You are saying the right things that I need to hear today.
I really want to double back on this idea that the signifier to you was this time that you were working on a restaurant and a man ordered his eggs to order, right? And I think that's so
Yeah.
funny because I always like I love looking at the world through this vision of the waking dream. And the idea that this man wanted his eggs to order is like so symbolically just like rich. The idea that that was what triggered you is this person's eggs, right? Like the thing that you, the 0 point, like the thing that you would impregnate and make anything you want to order. I just find it so fascinating.
Oh my God. I didn't
Wow, she
even
took it
think of
right
that.
there.
She took it right there.
Yeah, but isn't that fascinating how it's like
He
that's
does
what's sticking
this.
out? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mythological inventory. Nate, your book inspired me. It's like a whole modality I'm working on. But
I had thought that moment was so mundane. Like I almost didn't bring it up. I'm like embarrassed how mundane it was. Like
no.
Without the golden egg. Oh my God.
Yes, you're the goose. But isn't that so crazy though? Like our memories, our subconscious, the universe, however we want to like really conceive of it, like it's so wild. It's always speaking, and sometimes very loudly in the softest voice. And I just think that's great. And it's been like phenomenal having you on the show. As Meredith said, you've been saying all the things that she needed to hear. And like I definitely it's been totally revitalizing, because it's so great to have someone come on and really have the knowledge of conspiracy and have the knowledge of magic and all that, and still have the knowledge that it's your life and you have to live it and you get to be the captain of your own ship. And that's like the game, you know what I'm saying? And I hope people really hear this when they listen, because it's the major thing. We can take all of these different examples and stories and ways of being from everyone it's recorded by, but at the end of the day, like we have to learn how to live with ourselves. I think it's a Mike Brady adage, but like wherever you go, there you are. And it's so true. It's so true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask, Mare?
I not really, but I'm just really intrigued by a lot of the things that you said, and I'm really excited to read your book and because I ordered it, so it should be here in a couple days. And yeah, just really appreciative of a lot of the stuff that you've said. I've been going through a dark night of the soul, as they say, and have been like, oh wow, like to certain things. So all like everything is like divine timing,
Definitely. And as Amy was saying, it's pretty wild when you realize you're in this like waking dream. Whereas like previously, I kind of thought of the world as, I don't know, like a Bill Nye the Science Guy, kind of like objective, like here's a tree, here's a building, I'm walking around in it. But now it's like there are lessons like everywhere, and they're like right in my face, and there's like boundaries like there are in a dream, and the way to break through them is to like do something unexpected, or to like realize what the lesson is. Otherwise it just keeps repeating. Like the boundaries of this world we live in are not physical. It's not like you're in a wall. It's like they're the lessons, and the way that you get through the boundaries are like learning the lesson. And I don't know, even like it's kind of like the idea that like the universe, you can see it in a grain of sand, like those eggs that the guy ordered like opened up so much. And even like you ordering the book, like my book is available through Amazon, and I used to like hate Amazon with a passion, and while also like guiltily self-consciously like ordering from them all the time. And now I'm forced to like be grateful for them for like having such like a streamlined easy process to like publish my thoughts. And um it's something that would not have been available to an author 20 years ago. Like I can put essentially like anything I want out there without having it to be like confined by like what an editor thinks it should be. And I'm being forced to like be grateful for this mega corporation, and it brings up such crazy feelings inside of me that I'm still having to navigate. But yeah.
Yeah, that's also a big theme here on Gold Pill, is like conscious engagement and just realizing like the reality and the vastness of what Amazon is. But that also, I mean, you could live in the shadow of that your whole life, or you could figure out a way to like work with it or not, or however. But it's all about engaging with things at your level of desire and willingness. And that's been a big thing that Meredith and I have had to confront too, which is like it's always funny when I see the meme where it's like someone bitching about the internet, like, but they're posting about it from their phone. And it's such an amazing point.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
didn't you say something about like if you want a comfortable life, or something? This isn't like an old podcast, like you need to like if you're invested in anything, you're kind of at some level contributing to some
Yeah,
like amorality in the world or something.
right. It's shadow.
I mean, I would say like everyone has some type of, like complicitness in this world because we're all here and we're all doing it every day. But it's kind of like what's like mapped out for us to do, like a maze. We're just trying to get that piece of cheese, man, at the end of the maze, you know?
We're just trying to get the piece of cheese. And
I would love a piece of cheese right now, real talk. I think I'm just
that
saying.
does sound good.
Millennial charcuterie conundrum.
Yeah,
Well,
to
thank
get
you
the
so
cheese or to
much.
not get the cheese. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you so much, Nate. For
truly.
Of
We'll have you
course.
back
Yeah. Thank
when
you guys. This has been amazing.
yay.
Yeah, and we'll have you back at some point because we definitely want to hear, you know, you're a mind at work, and we love to check in with the minds at work in this modern landscape because God knows not all of them are. So very exciting to have.
Working.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
Meredith,
Oh,
I love
well,
you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank
Bye.
you.
thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.